Good evening and welcome to anyone who has joined tonight's webinar online. I'm Patricia Loeb, Mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council, and over the past few months I have been hosting a series of bite-sized information webinars to give households in our council area advice and guidance in coping with the cost of living. I am acutely aware that many households across our council area are struggling to meet the financial demands placed on them by the rising energy and food prices. We all know that this can take a toll on our health, worrying about bills and having enough to provide for our families. I really want to stress to everyone listening that help is available and that these services are here for everyone who at this stage needs a little extra support. We are extremely grateful to our local organisations who are doing critical work on the ground to support householders at this time by providing confidential, trusting and professional services. In this series of webinars, I have been meeting some of them personally to highlight their service and allow them to give more detailed information and advice to households in our council area. Tonight is the last of our series of webinars and I'm delighted to be joined by Ronan Convery, Senior Consumer Empowerment Officer with the Consumer Council for NI. Consumer Council NI are a statutory consumer body for the North of Ireland. They provide advice and information, investigate and resolve complaints and advocate on your behalf. Our webinars to date have focused on food poverty, fuel and advice. And I feel like we're bringing it all together now with our final webinar with an organisation that can offer information and advice all around saving on your household bills, including ways to reduce your energy bills or reduce your food costs, ways to save money and how to make sure you're getting what you're entitled to, as well as your consumer rights when travelling or shopping, financial services, illegal money lending and scams. In our webinar tonight, I hope we can provide households throughout our council area with useful information and advice that they can use to help reduce their outgoings, but also to highlight again that support is available to help those who are struggling to make ends meet. I'd just like to point out to anyone joining the webinar online can take an active part in the discussion by submitting your questions in the chat box facility on the screen. And just to make you aware that your identity will not be made public. So, good evening, Ronan. And I just mentioned that there is a range of topics that the Consumer Council can provide information with and support to consumers. But there's just a few in particular that I'd like to touch on tonight. So we make a start, Ronan? I'd like to ask you, what exactly do you do for consumers, particularly for anyone who doesn't know about the Consumer Council or hasn't used their services?
Thank you very much and good evening, Mayor Logue. I really appreciate extending the invitation to the Consumer Council. I'm delighted always to be working with the Strabane Council. So the Consumer Council was established over 40 years ago, and we are funded by the Department of the Economy, and we take complaints in water, energy, transport and post. So for any consumers out there, there's maybe a complaint with the energy company, NIE, Northern Ireland Water, the airline sector like Ryanair, EasyJet, Aer Lingus, our ferry companies and post, they know that they can contact us on our free phone number, email us and we'll investigate it free of charge. So basically what we would say to consumers, let's say you're getting very frustrated and help, get rid of that hassle, get rid of all that stress. Since 2022, we've returned £2 million back into back into people's pockets. This is our hard-earned cash, and more than ever, we've got to, I think, fight for our rights. So we encourage anyone to contact us in these areas.
Thank you, Ronan. That's certainly a phenomenal amount of money that you have helped get back into people's pockets. This series of webinars have focused on providing people with information and signposting them to organisations that can help them through the cost of living crisis. What would you recommend consumers to do if they are worried about their finances?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very difficult time for people during this cost of living crisis. And what the Consumer Price Research is telling us, which we will be touching on, it is things like energy, it is mortgage, it is rent, and it is food. But there are a number of organisations that are supporting communities in Northern Ireland, and that certainly, our advice is if anyone is struggling with their finances, and I know we're going to be touching about energy costs in a second, but if anyone is struggling with their finances, Advice NI, one of our government organisations, and they provide free confidential help and advice. We have our advice centres across Northern Ireland as well. I know you have one in the city as well. So you can
Yeah.
contact them again. It's a free phone number. Um, as well as that, for example, I work with, and I know that, make the call to Department of Communities to help 11,000 people get back £55 million in unclaimed benefits in Northern Ireland. The things such as, for example, again, the Department of the Communities, they offer finance support. And this is where maybe this, is, for example, could be short-term, it could be a short-term grant, it could be actually help with food. And again, that is finance support, and that's the NI Direct government website. There are also a lot of local charities as well. You have, for example, Christians Against Poverty and Vincent de Paul as well there. I think really, rather than consumers, I think, worrying at home, is to reach out and ask for support within these organizations, trained specialists who are there to, support and to guide you, what is out there for help.
Yeah, that's very good advice, Roland. Thank you for that. And you did mention the energy costs, and that could be gas, electric, oil. Have you any advice on how consumers could save on any of these energy costs?
Yes, I mean, certainly we have seen the energy costs coming down, which is good news for consumers, but we're still paying between 30 and 40% when it comes to energy. So the first thing is, on our website, whilst we have our complaints function, we also have our money saving tools, and that would be the likes of our electricity and gas comparison tool, our petrol and diesel comparison tool, home heating oil comparison tool, and then our home budget planner. I know certainly, you know, what our website shows you is that 5 clicks later, it will tell you who the cheapest energy provider is. Also, as well, we have our free phone number. Pick up the phone and my colleagues will advise you who's the cheapest provider. We can post information out. I know certainly, through the Northern Ireland Housing Executive, you sign up for their oil buying network and you save between 10 to 30 pounds. And just last week myself, I'm registered with the Northern Ireland Housing Executive. I'm a private house owner, I'm not a tenant. And they emailed me back and I saved £36 from 300 litres of oil. So those are sort of savings that you can make. And, certainly, Mayor, if you multiply that 4 times a year, there's cost savings. And I'm shouting it from the rooftops. I'm telling my 2 brothers, my sister, my mum, and they're all getting the weekly email as one example. And then with as a family unit, we're maybe saving between 400 and 500 pounds. We encourage people to switch to energy provider, which we'll go into more detail. But again, you're looking at annual savings of 200 to 300 pounds.
Yeah, and you did say that you will go over that with people who maybe can't get online. You will go over those issues with them on the phone. Can you talk them through the change in energy providers on the phone? Can you?
So when you contact the Consumer Council, we can advise you who the cheapest energy provider is.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's for a consumer to make an informed choice. I think, people assume, oh, it's too much hassle, I find it too complicated. So basically, once you get the information as to who you can get your cheap provider with, look at incentives, you look at unit price as well, you contact your new supplier and they will do everything for you to take that hassle away from you. So if you are a credit customer, you will have a meter reference point number and they'll ask you for a meter read, and then your new supplier will talk you through. So with anything, you have a 14-day cooling off period. And I think, when I say there's 5 suppliers and 23 tariffs, people start backing off. That's too complicated. So I want to break that down a wee bit. If you are a credit customer, this is where you either get a paper bill, or this is where, for example, you will get an online bill. You have a choice of 13 tariffs. If you pay as you go, you have a choice of 10 tariffs. That's automatically reducing, the number of tariffs there as well. So it is up to your new supplier to to help you out, and they're going to ask you a wee series of questions. How many rooms do you have in your house? And that will help them guide you, if you're a credit customer, as to setting the direct debit. So I said, give us a ring, we'll chat with you on our free phone number. We'll give you some advice. We can post out information to you if you aren't online, and that's very important for us as well. So you can then sit at home and read through it, maybe chat with a family member. And that's the thing, talk to family and friends as well and ask them what their experiences are and how much money they have saved as well.
Yeah. Ronan, the data provided by social supermarkets shows that more people are now availing of their service for the first time due to the cost of living crisis. What would your top tips be on how to save money with the food shop?
I mean, the food shop, we all have seen it, haven't we? When, we're going into the supermarket and we're looking at the price of food and it's almost incredulous. And this is certainly one of the three big concerns within the Northern Ireland household. And three wee things that we can do, and a few figures that I'll share with you as well. Um, I mean, I think one of the top tips is check what's in your kitchen cupboard. I don't know about you, but I have like 4 bottles, four spice of paprika, and I might love the space, and that's the thing, we don't check. you know Very
Yeah,
sometimes I sit in a wee carousel and I turn it around in my cupboard and it looks lovely, and I said I actually give my spices to my friend. But that's the thing, what did I go do at the weekend? Went out and bought another bag of frozen peppers, opened up,
yeah,
and you have the frozen peppers. Or you open up and you have your 4 cans of chickpeas. So I think meal prep is one of the easiest things that we can all do. Let's see what you have and use up what you have. And it's with tedious as it is. At the end of the day, we want to save money. And I don't know, but yeah, I'm batch cooking like crazy, using a slow cooker. Top tip: 4p an hour to use versus an oven, which is 53p an hour. So make that list, set a budget if you can. And two figures that spring to mind here is that we throw out an average £650 worth of food a
yeah,
year in the household. And that's a large amount of money. If we equate that, that could be maybe, for example, a fill of 9 layers of oil. Now, I'm not saying everyone can do that, but maybe if you can maybe, less or cut through out less food, there's £300. That again goes towards oil, or that go towards something in the household that you need. And the other
yeah,
big figure there is that, what do you like at downshifting your brands, good or bad? Certain products you can live without, and certain products we can't live without. But again, that figures at £1,500. What do you like yourself, Merlogue?
Oh, I
Downshifting
know when
brands.
it comes to brands, no, yeah, I'm a stickler for brands.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah.
Especially my peas and beans.
Well, that's it. That's it.
I'll not mention the company, but
No, I mean, that's the thing. There's certain things I can live without and certain things that I can't live without. And, and I think that's the thing. I'm not saying I was going to make a £1,500 savings, but if you can make some of those small changes,
Mhm,
or changes some of those brands, even like a pasta, for example, something like that. And certainly, I've been experimenting a lot with different products, and even if you can save £200 off your shopping, even better. And it's these small things that can make the big difference. And some of the figures that we've talked about that we can all do, what they would
mhm,
say as well, and only I started to do this myself, and I've now started to buy loose items. And I was in a well-known supermarket and had to ask, how do you weigh the vegetables on the self-service? Or, I think as well, the middle aisle is the golden aisle, isn't it? So we see all these glossy promotions, and do we actually
yeah,
need it? Are we actually going to use 3 boxes of a product, particularly perishable items? So it's those wee small things. And I think,
yeah,
when it comes to food, we're all doing the slow cooker. We're sharing recipes via WhatsApp. Did you hear about this recipe? And
mhm,
we're all using our air fryer, and certainly again, that's one of the things that my friends and I are doing, and batch cooking, and replacing, for example, I'd make cottage pie, replace half my meat with carrots, for example, or bulk it out with vegetables. And I made chili con carne someone was like, "Why are the green beans, the chili con carne?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to bulk it up, and it's good for you, so you're just going to eat it." I made it for my
uh,
friends. So we things like that, and these will be top tips on our website.
yeah, that is a good way to use up food that you might normally use. You would maybe just use it once and put it away again, but as you say, there are certain food products that you can use to bulk up soups and stews, etc. Um,
Yes.
we did talk about energy costs, but energy efficiency measures regarding electricity and oil. Would you have any tips regarding, even if you did get a good deal with your electricity, you did get the best deal with your oil? Have you any tips on how to best use those energy
Yeah.
products?
I mean, again, this is what we can control within our household. This is what we can all do as a family, to make the small changes that can make the big difference. And we'll start off with, for example, we have this tendency in our house, don't we, to put the sofa where the radiator is, and so we're blocking out that heat there. I know I look around my house and I'm busy pulling out the sofa myself, and putting it at a slant so the radiators aren't covered, or maybe the wardrobe goes behind the radiator. So try and not to ensure that your bed or your sofa isn't in front of the radiator. And very simply, my curtains are closing. I do the light, great to see the light, but I'm like pulling those curtains as soon as it's twilight. And then things like draft proofing your windows and your doors. Even if you can turn down your thermostat by 1 degrees, and I know this isn't always possible, that could save you £80 a year in your bill. And not many people. This doesn't become very popular because people like to record things on their electronic television device, but that's where I can save another £55. Switching to LED light bulbs, £4 to £13. Turning off lights in a room can save £20 a year. And these are all the wee small things that the family can all do. And that certainly, one thing now, when I moved out of my parents' home many years ago, and I got the bills in my house, I'm now doing everything that my parents were preaching to me all those years ago. You know,
Yeah,
don't put on the tumble dryer. Tumble dryer is 94p an hour to use. Make sure don't put on that immersion heater. Very simply, um, a shower should be 4 minutes. Um, that's what Northern Ireland Water recommends. So everyone should be setting a timer, and and um, and that can save £70 a year. And again, on our website, we would have the cost of running appliances, which you can just look, and it's very visual. But like to run a shower, electric shower for an hour is £2.80. Now,
yeah,
um, I don't know, excuse me, some teenagers, maybe two people like take 2 showers a day, but you can actually get these timers. So you can just stick to your shower, and it's 4 minutes. It's quite hard to do, but as I said, that's how we can minimize our electricity usage. That's how we can minimize,
yeah,
our oil usage as well.
yeah.
Cavity wall insulation and solid wall insulation, and there's still grants available as well, and that is called the Warm Home Scheme. This
Yeah.
is through the Northern Housing Executive, and again, getting this done, we're looking at potentially maybe up to £400 worth of saving, if you can
Mm-hmm.
get these done to your house. And there is also the Northern Ireland Sustainable Energy Programme, and I appreciate I am literally throwing everything at you this evening. Anything I talk about is on our website,
Yeah.
in our consumer section. But please, I urge, pick up the telephone and give us a ring. Or as well as that, even if people who are watching or listening, watching today, even ask for me, and my colleagues will email me and just say, Ronan, could you give this person a ring? Because I appreciate that there's a lot of information, but we're
Yeah.
we're, we're just out there trying to support. And that's, I think, the bottom line. What you said there was, there's organizations out there, there are grants available, government departments, there within our local communities, some of the organizations which I mentioned are there to support and help consumers during this cost of living crisis.
Yeah. Ronan, we did speak about switching energy providers. Um, is there a comparison tool on the website that people can log into before they would actually do the switch?
Yeah. So on our website, if you put in 5 clicks later, our website will tell you who the cheapest provider is. So basically, there's two ways you can do this. One is, I said, give us a ring, and we'll go through it within the telephone, as long as we've got some information such as who your current supplier is, what your current tariff is, how much do you currently pay, and how you'd like to pay in the future.
Yeah.
So that website do it for you, or on the phone. But the comparison table is there as well, which you can print out in black and white. Because I think some people like to see it in black and white, and you'll take your biro and you'll score out any tariff that doesn't apply to your meter. And I
Yeah.
think it's oh sorry, my apologies.
No, no, I was just going to ask you, there's a lot of people who are maybe tied on to deals for their electricity, and it could cost them a certain amount of money to come out of that deal. Can you actually tell them on the comparison to whether it would be worth their while coming out of the deal?
Oh, brilliant question. So with some suppliers will have an exit fee. Some suppliers don't have a contract. And I think that's what the comparison table allows you to do. When you print it off, you can ask for a copy. Is you can see in black and white what unit rate that what unit rate you're currently paying, what unit rate you potentially pay, what incentives are there, whether it is a £50 credit, or what sort of exit fee it is. And that's what you're going to weigh up. If I can save £300 this year by saving, and there's an exit fee of £20 or £40, there's still that savings there to be made. Um, and I think certainly, engaging with consumers, I am hearing that people are switching, are more confident about switching. And if
Yeah,
anything goes wrong, certainly, you know, um, give us a ring. That's what our complaints function is there for: water, energy, transport, and post. And we are prioritizing consumers with energy, and my colleagues in the consumer protection team are answering all these questions. We want to hear about anyone who's experiencing difficulties with their energy.
yeah,
Under the energy charter, the maximum debt ratio that a supplier can charge you is £20, or sorry, 20%. So if you are struggling with the energy cost, please ring your supplier. They'll talk to you and offer that additional support. So what that means is that if I then £20, £2 can go towards my debt, and £18 will go towards my usage. And if we reduce further, or if you can afford more, those options are there. But this is a difficult time, and utility regulator and organizations, the suppliers are wanting to help their customers through this very difficult time. And that's what the energy charter and additional support has been offered there for vulnerable consumers as well.
thank you, Ronan. Ronan, just an entirely different subject now, but one probably very relevant to a lot of households. There, the concerns have, most councillors and myself have heard concerns from constituents regarding the private car parking companies and the letter they receive, for court action for non-payment of parking fines. This can cause a lot of stress and anxiety, and people are really struggling financially. So, if what is the Consumer Council's advice if someone gets a letter from one of these private car companies
Yes.
regarding a parking fine?
Yeah, this is a big one. And certainly, the letters are so threatening. The letters will
Mhm.
say, don't, if you can't pay it, we're going to take it anyway. There are no bailiffs in Northern Ireland. And however, we're aware of programs that we watch on television. Letters then will say, we're going to take you to court. We're going to go to a debt collecting agency. We're going to get a solicitor. And certainly I'm aware of, a number of shopping complexes there in Derry and Strabane, sorry, in the city, where there is private car parking. Maybe it could be, for example, a private car parking in a supermarket as well. Doctor surgeries, dental surgeries. There is an apartment complex in the city. We have got an influx of consumers contacting us, and our advice is, as soon as you get the letter in, go onto our website or give us a ring and use our template letter. Print it out, sign it, and post it. Don't email them.
Right.
Don't phone them. Use our template letter. And since 2017, we've helped approximately 5,000 consumers £500,000. Because the thing is, this letter comes in at 60 quid, and we are aware that people are ignoring them and ripping them up. How that letter go up to £120, that letter go up to £180. The debt is then sold to debt collecting agency or a solicitor involved, and that instills great anxiety and fear in consumers. And for us, is here's the educational piece. This is how you can get it rescinded. This is where you can use the self-service template letter. And and I've taken these calls myself where consumers have phoned me and how I'm going to pay the gas this week. That's my gas money. This is a lot of money. £60 go a long way towards your shopping. £120 could go a long way to help fill that oil tank. And, for one person that ignores it, someone's sitting at home and not putting on the heat. And that's what we don't want.
No.
So please, if you're not online, please give us a ring our free phone number, 0800 121 6022. And we will talk to you and gauge you. And certainly, I will never forget it myself. I got one of these letters in, and it was in a shopping complex in the city, and that went £60. It is very threatening. And basically, so what was I going to do? I knew we got the template letter. However, what the letter actually showed, it showed my car, but it showed another car with a different number plate. So there are extenuating circumstances that consumers may come across. It could be that they have actually parked but in a wrong digit, which can happen,
Yeah.
in the car. Or we have experiences where consumers have maybe popped, to the shopping, and it's a shared car, and someone's then went back to the shopping complex, to go, to buy something else, and they're accused of being in the car park for 8 hours.
Right.
You know, um, it is like an educational piece. As soon as you get the letter in, and I'm aware, for example, there's a gym in the city that if you spend for 2 hours, it's a shared car complex. Now, I've never been in the gym for 2 hours in my life, but we are aware that we've been increase in the bills. All you need to do is to use the template letter to get those letters rescinded, to stop them in the tracks. Because
Yeah.
what happens is they stop for a while, and then three, 3 years later, the letters start coming in, but the amount has escalated.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. And this is where again people get really, really worried, and then they will. So our bit of advice is act as soon as you get it through the post.
Okay, and
Get
that
it.
is something that the Consumer Council can help with, obviously, with the template plate letters.
Yeah, I mean, we get a real increase to our website, and phone calls just after Christmas. People are shopping in cities and towns that they've never maybe shopped in before,
Hmm.
and the signs are very high up. So just a wee top tip there is to think about maybe setting a time on your mobile phone. What I would say is if you get a car parking from the Department of Infrastructure, those have to be paid. With private car parking, the legislation in Northern Ireland is different in England and Wales. But give us a ring, and we'll talk you through and let you. We know by the amount whether it is a private car parking company or whether it's Department of Infrastructure.
Yeah. Okay. See, just the FI, the roads one. What if the markings weren't clear on the roads? I would have
Excellent
had one or
question.
two where the markings were,
Yes.
it said maybe for a loading bay or something, but you just couldn't make it out.
Oh gosh,
Uh,
that's a really brilliant question. And I've experienced this myself where I've actually paid it, and I've closed my car door and my ticket's fallen down, where underneath the wheel. So in those ones there, and I have to say the Department of Infrastructure have an appeals. So an instance like this is, take photographs if you can on your mobile phone,
mhm.
where you have parked or I mean, certainly I was talking to my colleague actually, and it turned out that, they said you had parked, but the signage had been removed, and the number of hours that you're allowed to park. And she took a photograph as evidence, said, well, actually, this is where I parked 2 weeks ago. This is the signage. There is none. That's what you can do is you can
Yeah.
appeal it. Um, and you're quite right, where sometimes the markings have been removed. Maybe they've done a little bit of roadworks or something like that, and they haven't repainted it over, or just wear and tear. But certainly the Department of Infrastructure has an appeal process. And in my instance, I was successful to be able to have that appealed, because my evidence was my ticket that was
Yeah.
sitting, underneath, and also my colleague. um, who has showed her evidence in terms of the signage. She successfully appealed hers, and this is the thing. What's great about being invited along is these wee awareness piece, these wee tips that we can all do. It's like that £45 or that £60 could go up to £120. That's better off in your pocket than it is, than writing that check or a forever payment method.
Yeah,
That £45
certainly,
could be that treat,
certainly, Ronan.
that treat that we all need and deserve.
Yeah,
And when I saved that £35 when I got my oil last week, I thought bought me a nice wee lunch with my friends. We went for a walk, along Coltra.
uh,
Um, so I was like, well, I'm going to enjoy that £35, and that's the way I look at it for my savings that I make. The small things we can all do.
yeah, definitely. Ronan, now we're on about travel, and there are times many students are coming home. What if flights are delayed? It can be an expensive time too, especially for parents who are probably footing the bill for the flights. If flights are delayed or cancelled, have consumers got any rights there?
Yeah, so we've actually very, very powerful consumer rights when it comes to travel. And I appreciate, we maybe have family in England, Scotland, Wales. We have maybe people who are working, frequent flyers, England, Scotland, Wales, and of course family members who may be studying as well, who maybe are booking 10 flights a year. So basically, or if you're lucky to get away, um, uh, you know, what happens if something goes wrong? So if you're flying out of Northern Ireland, the Consumer Council can investigate your complaints within the airline sector. Well, if that £2 million, £800,000 comes from the airline sector. So the big golden rule of thumb is if the delay, which is more than 3 hours, is within the airline's control, such as staff shortages, staff over the allotted hours, it could be most technical errors. Compensation starts at £220, and the further the distance goes up to £550. Now, if anyone has difficulty getting this compensation, give us a ring and we will investigate that complaint. And we have information in a different format. What we have online, we have to have in a paper resource called plain facts. Give us a ring, email us, and get a copy for every member of the family to pop into their luggage. So
Hmm.
if it's outside the airline's control, such as weather or strikes, volcanic ash, you're not entitled to compensation, but the airline is still responsible for you and your members. So things like maybe you've had to book an alternative flight, maybe you've had to stay in a hotel, you've had to get lunch, breakfast, dinner. Keep all
Yeah.
those receipts, and we talk about this evidence, and that's the evidence which you will be submitting to the airline. And again, not getting anywhere, pick up that phone. If you're flying from Dublin or any other European country and it's a European carrier, basically please use our template letters on our website as a guide. So what we can do within our legislation is flights out of in and out of Northern Ireland. So again, we say self-service on our website, and give us a ring and tell us about your experience. And you know some of the I myself, my flight, I was flying, my best friends live in England, and I was flying from the airport there, and my flight was delayed for 7 hours. And for me, I was just like, what are my options? Will I go to the other airport and get another carrier and get my airline to pay the difference? So I sat it out. Tough 7 hours, not gonna lie. Um,
Hmm.
but I got £220 off the airline in compensation. And with that £220, I bought my air fryer. And I thought, I'm not going to frivolously spend this money. And
Good
it was
for
a dual
you.
air fryer. And that's it. I got a phone my friends, so excited. Said, I'm coming home to visit. I got my compensation. And I thought, but I'm going to be sensible about this. Now,
Hmm.
I couldn't afford the most expensive air fryer. I got mine off the shopping channel. And every time I ironically use it, I'm thinking, that's on you, that particular airline, which I won't mention. And all the time I'm saving money. It's costing 34p there for an air fryer usage. But again, it's all about that wee awareness piece there.
Yeah.
You know, flights can be pretty expensive, or particularly for students as well, where maybe they're on a fixed income, or as for parents want to pop over and see their kids, particularly at the start of term, you know,
Hmm.
and just where with very powerful rights and to utilize them. And I said a lot of our calls, a lot of our complaints is this energy, it's the airlines, and also the private car parking as well.
Yeah. Well, Ronan, you did mention that you can get in touch by phone and by email and on your website. But have you got a public office that the public could use?
Yeah, so we have an office in Alfred Street in Belfast, and you can pop in. We always have member of staff there as well, take your complaint.
Hmm.
And I'm about and about the place, and going to the city tomorrow. If anyone sees me out and about, a purple jacket, you can't hardly miss.
Yeah,
Um, and we would do the things like our mall show. We'll be doing the Mila Festival. We would do all our cultural shows as well. So even if see me out and about, Ron, I've got a complaint, and I can bring that complaint to my colleagues who can then contact anyone on the telephone. So you can contact us by the telephone, you can email us, or you can come to our office. And, in some instances, which may require, say, a meeting with, the consumer council and the company in question. In that instance, we would come to someone's house, or we'd meet in a mutual location. But as I said, just give us a ring. Even if we can't help within our complaints function, we feel it's our responsibility to say, listen, we can't help you, but let us get you a number for, I mentioned Department of Communities, make the call, here's the number. Or if it's
yeah,
goods and services, here's the number for consumer line, or anything I've mentioned today. And that's for us, a very important role, is getting that referral to that consumer first time around.
yeah. That's great. And you did mention that you're out and about quite a lot, Ronan. So I do know that groups do invite you to their information days. So if there's any groups there listening in on this, just contact yourself too and arrange a visit with them too. Yeah,
Yes, so we would do information stands, and this is where it's really, really great. We get organisations. We've done information stands in the Guildhall in Strabane Community Hub there. A couple of last, was it before Christmas we met? I was in Culmore
yeah,
Hub as well. I met you a few weeks ago. So we have information stands, but we also then would give presentations, and our presentations are free, as are all our resources. And this is where maybe we get into like tonight, for example, we're getting into a bit of nitty gritty, and it allows people in a very relaxed group that they know where they're to have that conversation, and we're sharing top tips, and that's love. Where I was in the city a few weeks ago, there were 60 ladies, and we had those conversations about people sharing their experiences about switching the electricity provider, or someone then saying about conversation with an airline. So certainly contact me, and I'll be there. I'll be in that city. Wasn't about the place, and I'd be delighted to deliver presentations or information stands, and I continue to work with the council as well.
brilliant, Ronan. Well, Ronan, I would just like to say good night. But before you go, I would just like to thank you for taking the time to speak to me tonight and for sharing that very useful and informative information and support that the Consumer Council can offer households across the city and district. And I would just like to remind all households out there that information and links discussed tonight will be available on Council's dedicated webpage at www.derrystrabane.com/community/help with cost of living. I would encourage you all to check out this page on Council's website for other information on the support that is available across a range of organisations in our council area. My thanks to all organisations who met with me in this series of webinars over the last few months: Foyle Food Bank and Social Supermarket, Strabane Community Project, the Housing Executive, Advice Northwest, and also to you, Ronan, from the Consumer Council. I would also like to thank Linda and Paul, who have been with me every time during the webinar, making sure that everything goes as smoothly as it can be. So thanks to you too. I sincerely hope it has provided households throughout our council area with some useful information, and also the knowledge that there are many organisations on our doorsteps that are always there to help. Good night.